While the classic Disney princesses are not physically strong, they're very mentally and emotionally strong. They teach us that even through times of hardship, that we remain kind, graceful, and compassionate. And to just reduce them down to dresses and princes is actually misogynistic itself.
Apparently, wanting love is a weakness. Today, we're going to talk about why, despite criticism, Cinderella, Snow White, and Ariel really demonstrate really strong female traits, are really strong female characters. If people want to write more strong female characters, they should really look at the older Disney princesses. Older Disney princesses are typically portrayed with traits that align with traditional gender roles, such as being more passive and a really strong focus on romance. A lot of people believe that these traits are really outdated stereotypes and reinforce limited roles for women. So we're going to go into each princess and see what feminine traits that they have. Cinderella's primary traits really included kindness, beauty, and a focus on achieving her dream. With Cinderella, a lot of people have thoughts of what her dream was, but a lot of people believe her dream was marrying a prince. I personally believe she dreamt of being in a place in which people would love her and not abuse her. But we're going to get into that later. Critics argue that her reliance on the fairy godmother and the prince lack a sense of self, and also emphasize on romance as the ultimate goal for her story. Snow White can also be seen as very passive. She was waiting for a prince to rescue her. Her character is often criticized for being overly dependent on the dwarves and also the prince for her salvation. These criticisms is really rooted in the belief that her primary aspiration is to find true love rather than achieving personal growth or independence from her mother. Ariel's story. A lot of people don't like Ariel, okay? Ariel's story involves her making significant sacrifices for love, including giving up her voice and identity. A lot of people argue that this undermines her strength, portraying her as giving up her autonomy and for a more romantic pursuit. They suggest that her focus on love diminishes her character's independence and self-worth. Ooh, these critics, they just don't like these princesses. Now, I'm gonna talk about the strength of these princesses, okay? Because I was also one of these people in which I would just see Disney princesses, I'm like, oh, okay, like they're just beautiful and they're just wanting love. Nah, a lot of these princesses, they were abused, okay? And they had every right for wanting to find love. It wasn't even romantic love, just love in general. So we're gonna start with Cinderella. I personally love Cinderella now. I've been rewatching it over and over again, especially A Twist in Time, which hopefully I will make a video about A Twist in Time because that was like one of the best sequels ever from Disney. So, Cinderella. Despite enduring harsh treatment from her stepmother and stepsisters, Cinderella really remained hopeful and kind. I know for a fact if anyone was in Cinderella's shoes, they would have lost it. We would have fought if I was Cinderella. I kid you not. That's one of her strengths. She was kind even when people weren't kind to her. A lot of people nowadays are not like that whatsoever. If you're mean to them, they will be mean back. It's really rare for someone to be kind even when someone is coming for them. And her resilience is evident in her abilities being optimistic and having grace under difficult circumstances. Her strength really lies in her inner fortitude and ability to stay true to her values despite a lot of people having animosity towards her. That's a really strong character trait. A lot of people, when they first see Cinderella, they just believe that the easy way out was just her to marry the prince. But let me back this up before I get into that point. When she heard about this ball, she was like, wow, this could be a chance for me to actually let loose and have fun. It wasn't just find a prince. It wasn't just to find love. If it happens, it happens. But the main reason why she wanted to go to the ball, it was just she saw this as an opportunity to change her fate. Why would she want to stay in that position for the rest of her life? Imagine her not going to the ball. She would still be a slave to her stepmother and her step-siblings. Her ability to seize this opportunity despite her circumstance, it shows that she's not really passive. She can make her own choices. She has her own motives. She has her own dreams. And she wasn't really falling under what her stepmother and stepsister said. They even told her, like, you can't go to this ball. You have to do all these chores first. And she's like, well, bet. I'm still going to do it. Regardless of what you said, I'm still going to the ball. So she's not passive at all. She's very assertive. Even at the ball, if you watch the scene when she saw the prince, she didn't even know he was a prince. She had no clue that he was a prince. So when people said that her dream was to marry the prince, I believe that's bogus because she didn't even know who the prince was. How's she gonna have a dream that she wants to marry the prince, but she don't even know who the prince was? She just wanted to find love. She just wanted to find someone who would love her, who she is. That's it. Now we're gonna go into Snow White. Snow White is also very kind. A thing I noticed with the older Disney princesses is that they're so kind regardless of what the world was doing to them. And I think a lot of people just see that as a weakness. And I disagree. It takes a lot of strength to be kind. Believe me. It takes a lot of strength not to curse someone out just because they're mean or doing bad things to you. It takes a lot of strength and people really undermine that. Now with Snow White, she was really kind to animals, to the dwarves, and really highlighted her morals as a character. She even prayed. She got on her knees and prayed for these men that she didn't even know. For me personally, I'm a Christian, so when someone prays for you, that takes a lot of strength to pray for someone and even pray for your enemies. She also had the ability to maintain compassion and trust in others, even after being abused by her stepmother. Her stepmother was planning to murder her. She was a part of a murder and she still trusted other people. Regardless of that, it really shows her significant inner strength because that's pretty traumatic. The whole scene when she was going to the forest after the swordsman told her to run, a lot of people after that they would just give up, but she just kept on going. She also showed she's able to adapt to a new environment and that she's really independent when she needs to be. I would say with independence, it's good to depend on people as well, and you just need to know when to balance being independent and dependent, and Snow White really shows that. Now to Ariel. A lot of people don't like Ariel because they believe that she just left the underwater just for a man. And honestly, the amount of stories I be hearing about people's and their relationships and what they do for a man, it's pretty accurate how Ariel is, not gonna lie. But her doing all this, sacrificing something, it takes a lot of bravery, okay, first of all. And I would say that regardless of Prince Eric, she was gonna go to the surface at some point. I'm pretty sure she would have found a way. I believe she used Prince Eric as an excuse. Internally, she didn't even know why she gravitated towards the surface, but she was just curious. She was a really curious person and she just wanted to see everything. That takes a lot of bravery to actually set foot into things that you want to see, even if it's unknown. She was literally stepping into an unknown world, and that takes a lot of bravery and it takes a lot of sacrifice. She was never going to stop being curious. She just knew that this was her opportunity to actually see what was up there. And her willingness to make sacrifices for her goals, even like giving away her ability to swim and being a mermaid, really shows her commitment to fulfilling her desires. It also highlights her strength in navigating challenges and pursuing her desires. Okay, changing perceptions and modern adaptations. Now, this is one thing I do not like. Changing the older Disney princesses just to fit modern narratives. I know everyone and their mama knows what they're trying to do with the new adaptation of Snow White. Honestly, I can't blame people for being so mad about it because now they're basically trying to say that Snow White wasn't a strong female character and how Snow White in general is just weak. And she was not weak. She was not weak at all. She just went through trauma, and just because she didn't go through a bunch of trials or just her not being so assertive doesn't mean that she's weak. She's very strong. She's a very strong person. Them trying to modernize Snow White often stems from the criticism of her traditional portrayal. Nowadays, a lot of people have a checklist on what they want to see in characters, and I'm not really down for that because they're really making these characters become more a monolith, and we just need to have more diverse characters. Femininity is not a one fits all. Them trying to erase Snow White, it's just it seems counterproductive as well because they constantly try to strive for diverse characters, diverse women, but they're trying to raise a quote-unquote weak character. I do not like that. Speaking of weak, we're going to talk about wanting love is not weak. Love is a motivator. Love is a human desire. We are in this era in which we have a loneliness pandemic. The desire for love is very a fundamental aspect of the human experience. A lot of people are missing out on love. That's why they're unhappy. They don't have true love. And that can be platonic or romantic relationships. Love can be a strength and a motivation. And seeking love and forming meaningful relationships are natural. And they're empowering aspects of personal growth. So when people say that wanting love and these Disney princesses wanting love was weak, I would just say it was a motivator. It was a clear motivator for Cinderella. I believe if she didn't want love and she didn't desire love, she would have snapped early on, but that was her motivator. Many stories illustrate that love can inspire characters to overcome obstacles and achieve their goals. Them pursuing love is not a sign of weakness, but more so a reflection of their hopes and aspirations. The desire for love is sometimes misinterpreted as weakness rather than legitimate personal goal, and that's a problem. Because the strength of older Disney princesses should be viewed through the lens of their emotional and personal growth, not just their romantic pursuits. Now, we're going to compare the modern Disney princesses with the classical princesses. I would say a lot of people favor the modern princesses over the older princesses. We have Moana, Tiana, Elsa, even though Elsa is a queen. Moana is celebrated for her independence, leadership, and self-discovery. Tiana is because she has strong work ethic and ambition, and Elsa centers on self-acceptance and overcoming personal fears. Now, I want to say, modern princesses often emphasize independence and personal achievement as their goal, reflecting contemporary values about female empowerment, which is fine. But also, older princesses were doing the same thing as well. But older princesses like Cinderella, Snow White, and Ariel focused on more romantic aspirations, which was more common in earlier narratives. So I would say both modern and older traditional Disney princesses still reflect their values of that time while also doing female empowerment. I don't believe that some people would say that older princesses weren't showing female empowerment. That's why a lot of parents don't let their children watch Disney princesses movies, because they feel as though their child watching these traditional princesses will position their child in a way in which they would just constantly depend on the man. I disagree, just because having too much of either narrative can really be detrimental to a person's growth. You have to have both. And I like how we have two different generations of princesses, because it really highlights self-sufficiency and individual goals, and also exhibiting strength. It really shows a lot of what being a female entails in this world. In conclusion, I would say older Disney princesses like Cinderella, Snow White, and Ariel really show a lot of strength, a lot of resilience, courage, and personal growth, and that they should be appreciated. Though the modern princesses offer different values, this does not diminish the impact and the complexity of their older counterparts. This is it for the video. Please leave any comments about what you think about the older Disney princesses, what you think about the new adaptation of Snow White, and I will see you guys in the next video.